good to go.
Okay.
All right. Hello,
Hi.
Sue Cohen. Now, I'm usually the one
is me.
giving, you can try the Liquid Death.
Okay.
But you've also brought me something from Juicelation.
Yes.
Love that place.
And they're opening up the new place in Mercado on Monday. They're hoping for Monday.
Is it a new place they're moving to, or are they?
No. They're going to have 2 locations, and the one is going to be in Mercado. It's so nice.
Really?
I've already been there.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
How'd you get the inside scoop?
They're friends.
So you're the person to know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to open that and open this. So crack open a Liquid
All right.
Death.
Right.
Anyone who's new to this is water. We're not cracking beers in the middle of a...
I might need your help.
Oh, you need help?
Yep. Nails are too long.
That is the one thing about drinking water from a can. It's when I cut my nails, it's very painful. But cheers. Cheers.
Liquid Death. Mm-hmm. Refreshing.
Literally just water.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like it.
The something about drinking from aluminium. I can't drink from plastic anymore.
Yeah. No, I don't drink the plastic.
It's not my thing.
Glass.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got a setup now where I've got an open case. Like, it looks like beer. Even the case looks like beer because it's cardboard and everything. And I just have one open, like a whole case in the passenger side foot area.
Okay.
And so I can leave it in the car. It doesn't get leaching from plastic. And I'll be driving, reach over,
and
get
then
myself one, crack it open while I'm driving. I'm like...
So it's like cracking a beer, but only it's healthy.
Yeah, I'm waiting to get pulled over. I can't wait.
That would be so cool. You should do a podcast of it.
Well, I'm waiting to, once Sienna's old enough to drink water and hold it herself, because she's only 6 months now, she can't do it yet. I want to do a little skit where I'm like sitting on a bench or something, and I'm drinking out of the can, and I just like, you want some? Starts drinking. Obviously, someone's going to come over and be like, so you can't do that. I'm like, she's old enough.
That'd be so cool.
They're like, I'm like, what? She's of age? She's not.
That'd be really cool.
Because my in-laws won't even walk within me, like within 15 feet of me.
Because
if I'm
of the
drinking
can?
Yeah, because of that. Because they're worried people are going to think I'm drinking. I'm like, but I'm not. Who cares? It's so funny. But no,
So where do you get this?
Everywhere, like Publix.
Really? Publix has this?
Publix has it. They sometimes they'll often go on special for like $13 for 12, so it's pretty cheap.
That is cheap.
Yeah, you can also get it on Amazon. I think it's like $15, but then it's home delivery.
Okay.
So
do you get more off of Amazon for the 15?
Still 12.
Still 12.
But
okay.
home delivery for $2.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
I'll do it.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean,
I love the name Liquid Death for water.
Yeah, well, because it murders your thirst. It's like right at the bottom. Like, they've got a whole blurb on the side, which is hilarious. Apparently, their marketing manager, if you get an email from him, it's like, it's the manager of murder. Like, they've lent so far into it. But it's genius. It's like...
Yeah, it is.
In something
it's
so
really
saturated like water, they've been able to just, carve a part in them, in the area, which is so saturated.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's try next one.
Okay.
Juicelations.
I've already had some of mine.
That's all right. Well,
you need to break it open.
Oh, it didn't pop. I was like, whoa, wowzers.
Oh, wait. What? That beet juice is really... It's beet.
They really filled
greens.
it up, huh?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, if I had to describe health in a drink, it tastes like that.
Yeah.
So what's in that?
So it's the beet juice, which is detox. And then I think I got the meaty greens this time. And it's all the kale, spinach, romaine, ginger, lemon, all good stuff for you. So I always ask them to mix the two. Because I like it like that.
I can taste. Is it the ginger, I think?
Maybe.
Something about Americans love ginger.
Yeah.
What's with that? Whenever I try and have like a healthy shot, I'm like, the ginger's just like, oh.
It's that punch.
Yeah.
It's good. It is good. It is.
I feel like I've had a healthy morning. Been hydrated with Liquid Death. Got some Juicelation juice. But yeah, so anyways, I really should have just, whatever. Bring a napkin next time.
We're good.
So for people listening, watching, let them know who Sue is and what Sue does.
mom of one, 3 grandkids,
Ooh,
and they are living in Turkey right now.
that's right. You just got back a few weeks ago.
No.
A few months ago now.
Yeah, I was
Time
back
flies.
in October, November. I was there for almost a month. It was great. It was awesome.
My parents love Turkey.
What part?
Don't know exactly, but I just know whenever, because they travel to Europe before COVID, it was 1 month every year. They've been doing that for just short of a decade. Maybe more than a decade now. And the one place they always talk about is Turkey. Like they got a $5,000 rug from there. I was like, why?
Oh, it's Istanbul. Well, actually, in
Yes,
Izmir,
that sounds right.
it's kind of all regional. There's different rugs per region. It's really cool. I got a lot of history.
This
from
was
that.
like it has a 300-year warranty. I
Oh,
was like,
probably.
come on, man. Like,
Pass it down. Well, they do. They pass it down.
could you imagine cashing that in?
No.
Like in the year, 2253, it's like, hey, it's broken. And they'd be like, we don't give a shit.
Right, exactly.
Like,
And
hey,
can you
you have a
imagine what it
contract.
looks like after 300 years old?
Well, it's that expensive that I remember when we went, my mum bought it and then she just put it away. I'm like, she goes, no, I don't spend, you don't spend $5,000 on a rug for it to get
put it
ruined.
away.
I'm like,
Yeah, but
so why would you buy it?
right, exactly.
Like, it's not an investor's piece.
Well, I was a designer. I still
Really?
am. Yeah. So architectural designer
Oh,
at one point in my life. Still do it if people ask. From Philadelphia. And I had this client. He was so cool. He was a toy manufacturer. And I won't get into the details of who he was, but they would travel over to Turkey to get their rugs. And they knew exactly the weave and everything about it because they got a lot of education from it. So they knew exactly what they wanted, and they had their rugs designed for the entire house.
wow.
It was so cool.
That is pretty cool.
And this is way back in the 80s. So things were a lot cheaper then.
Do you know what's weird? It actually, inflation, I remember reading something, because you know how we look back and we go, oh, houses were like $5,000. Inflation, I think it was like the 40s. $100 in the 40s is equal to $7.80 today. So a $5,000 house relative to inflation is actually just as expensive as a $1 to $1.5 million house today. But we kind of don't look at it in that light.
No, we don't. It's so different. And then just being around here, you would think, oh my gosh, it's going to stop. It's not going to keep going up. And it's so not true.
Yeah. Well, the plan was to buy a house after living here for 6 months when we
Yeah.
moved from Australia.
That's right.
Yeah, nah. Nope.
You got to wait a little bit.
Well, yeah. And to the point where I'm like, you know what? Let's just try and find some investment properties.
That's the best
first.
thing to do.
I just can't justify buying a house and putting in the mortgage, especially in Florida. Like Florida, it feels like it's the most volatile out of all the states.
Right. But being that it's such a place where people are buying with cash in certain areas of Florida, those areas are never going to go down to the point that they started. And because it's all cash. So you can't justify why you would not, knowing that the prices are going to keep going. We don't know how long it's going to last because of the feds, and we have to see how the rates go and how the world goes right now.
Yeah. It's not going to be like, I hear a lot of people say, like they reference 2008. And I'm like, it's not going to be
it's never
anything
gonna be
like
like
that. That was a house of cards scenario.
Yeah. And again, it's certain locations too. It really depends on where you're living and where you're buying.
Yeah.
If you're buying in the low end areas, then those areas are going to be more prone to go into foreclosures if you're doing mortgages. It's based on that. It's, you know, how many people are getting mortgages and where are they?
Got you. I just realized we skipped straight to Turkey.
Yeah, we
What is it
did.
you do?
That's what I do. I'm a real estate agent. Oh, wow. Like many others, but only have been doing it for a long time, like 40 some years.
That's probably why you're really good at it.
Thank you.
So one thing because when I first moved here, I mean, real estate wasn't really a thing because I didn't really network. I did just mostly personal training, and that was doing really well, and I was doing other stuff. But when I came here, going to the Master Networks groups was so confusing because it was like, first I'm like, all right, he does insurance. Well, what type does he do? And I'm like, there's 5 people in this group that do insurance, but none of them the same. And then it's, they do real estate. But then there's 5 different types of realtors in here. That's why I feel so ignorant whenever I find out someone's after a particular thing, and I'm just messaging the group going, who's the person that does this part again? So they're probably like, oh, this guy has no idea. I'm like, I don't.
Well, is it different in Australia?
It probably isn't.
Okay.
I've just never really been in, like, I've never networked with networking groups.
Okay.
The reason I did here was because, I mean, I moved here with 0 contacts, and it was like, which was kind of cool because it was, all right, I can rebrand myself. That's why I wear, like, I feel like I'm finally being the weird, flamboyant Aussie that I've always been. But in Australia, it just felt like I was, quote unquote, trying to get attention.
Okay.
Like, people were like, ugh, all right. And so I would recluse back into, you know, wearing safe colors and, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
now
but
I'm
you're an
wearing
outgoing
ridiculous.
person too. So no matter where you go, you're going to make friends and you're going to fit right in
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah. It
Like,
just, it
I'm
felt like
the
there was
same way.
something that was free, though, being in America, where, again, because no one knows me, I'm like, I can just be flamboyant. Like, wear that hood that looks like it's being graffitied all over the
I
shop.
love that.
That gets so many
love
compliments.
that.
Yeah.
You
It's
got to hold that up.
Well, I was actually going to wear it at the start, but I was like, it's so warm in here.
I know, it's hot.
Yeah, no one needs a strip tease halfway through the podcast. Is there any particular type of real estate that you predominantly focus on, or is it across the board?
I think real estate really should be to whatever the person needs.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't focus on one particular thing because of the fact that I'm outgoing and I'm more of a people person that I interview.
Yeah.
And I think once you know what that person is, I think you should have a broad range of what you're doing, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
You should know a little bit about everything.
Very
and then,
true.
Yeah, and then decide from that if you need more knowledge on whatever it is that person needs. So I kind of go with what they need and want.
Yeah.
And that started when I was in design. And I've always focused on that. So I would have a list of questions, too, for myself in the beginning, just to know what to ask. And then I got so used to it, I didn't need that paper anymore. It kind of just sticks with you because you're compassionate about it. And I think that's a real important tool.
Very much. Yeah. I had the gentleman yesterday, John, fantastic guy. He does counseling for free now. So he's retired, and that was the biggest thing he said was listening and asking questions.
Correct.
And
it's so important.
Well, most people don't do it.
No.
So that was the interesting part. He said was he asked a group, let me know one person that listens to you, and he goes, the whole group just said, no one. And
That's
like,
sad.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. Like, it's I think we're all in a rush to tell versus
Talk about yourself and not listen.
Yeah, or tell especially in business, why you should do something versus what is it you need first, and then let's figure it out.
I think that goes along with any kind of relationship, whether it's business or personal. It doesn't really matter. If you want to get to know the person, then ask them questions.
Yeah.
And then just sit back and listen so you can absorb what they're saying. And that's really important.
And you'll learn too from that.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like I didn't realize you were a designer. You might have told me, I can't remember, but
Yeah.
the Denzel Washington story just blew me away
gosh.
with that.
That's when my years back when I had a group of guys that I worked with for construction and renovation and as part of design, and that You love that story.
It's a great story. Like, not many people are just like, yeah, I hung out with Denzel Washington by chance.
Yeah.
Helped his kids with sandcastles.
Started out with his kids.
Yeah. And the best part is you didn't even know who he was.
No,
like,
I didn't even realize it. Yeah.
Which is probably a good thing because, I mean, it's Denzel Washington. He's probably used to people just being like,
yeah.
oh my God. And the fact that you're like, I know you from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I
don't pay attention to stuff like that. And I was having fun with the kids.
Yeah. Also, I think in real life too, like, we're so used to seeing famous people, like, they're in a character bigger than life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not really going to see a scene of Denzel Washington probably doing a sandcastle with his kids in the beach.
No.
And also when you meet people in real life, there's this weird, it's weird in terms of, like, they seem smaller.
Mm-hmm.
They either seem smaller or bigger. Like, I met up with a friend who I went to Chicago the other week, and I've never met him before. I just knew him through, we'd chat every week about videos and how to improve one another with your videos. And then I met him, I'm like, fuck, you're tall? Like, he's 6'6", you know? So I was like, I knew you were 6'6", but it doesn't register until you're next to them. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're tall. Have you got any other stories that you're willing to share?
There's quite a few, but I don't think it would be a good idea.
Gotcha. Anyone wondering, Sue's lived quite the life by the sounds of it.
Yeah. I've met quite a few people, and it was a very interesting life. Mm. And like we were just saying about, there's a lot of famous people. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in how they get there and who are they. And that's a really good story to hear. Mm. So, and I like that. I like listening to people's stories and their lives of how they get where they were. Mm. You know, I think that's really important.
Definitely. So, in light of that one, how did you make the transition from being a designer to a realtor?
It kind of is the same. So when you're working on somebody's house, you're already asking them the questions for what they need and what they want. Mm-hmm. And I had purchased properties as an investor. I became an investor from design. And never forget that first property that I got, that big mistake. Uh-huh. It was a good learning experience. It took me through the rest of my life.
Really? Mm-hmm. So it's just like an organic transition, really?
It really was. It really was. So I just started buying property. And it got to the point, it started, honestly, with my ex-husband and I, and we always wanted to do this. And he already started the business. And he had the people but needed the properties. And he had already his own properties that he built up. Mm. And it was where I wanted to fit in with design and eventually buy some land, knock some properties down, and build and renovate and design and sell them. Mm-hmm. And to me, it was a win-win. And I love win-wins.
Yeah.
Love them. So that took me into buying more investments. Mm. Then I'd be buying packages of investments. And I formed this group called DIG back in Philadelphia that took me to meet a lot of investors. And I was probably back then the only woman around a bunch of guys. But they got used to it. And we got to be really good friends. And I formed this group called DIG, which is, I think, still around. I'm not sure. Really? Diversified Investment Group.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. That was my next question. What does it stand for?
It was really cool. We finally decided, let's all just get together instead of one-on-one all the time and just have this group that we can share our investments if we want to sell or buy or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or know people and stuff like that. So we did. Worked out really well.
Yeah.
And then I had bought so much I was buying a lot of HUD and foreclosures at that time and auctions, whether it was sheriff's sale or didn't matter. Whatever was good.
Mm-hmm.
And I became what was called the HUD Queen.
The Hug Queen.
HUD Queen. So it was housing urban development.
Mm-hmm.
And the title company called me. The girl that I was dealing with, she was the one that actually said, "Oh, you're the HUD Queen. I don't know how you do it. Once a week you're buying a property." I said, "Got to know your figures." And it worked out really well.
Yeah.
Worked out really well.
Week. And were they flips? Or were they fixer-uppers to turn into rentals? What? So
I wound up getting together with a broker that worked with my ex-husband, 2 brokers, sorry, and they wanted to open up their own company and asked me to partner with them. Mm-hmm. I did not want to partner. I just liked my life the way it was in helping people, and to me it was a win-win.
Yeah.
So I did. I helped them. So we had the broker, we had a contractor, and me, and the other broker and I would go around on Saturdays, look for properties, get our list from the HUD properties that was listed. Saturdays, we'd go out, look at the properties. Monday, I put my bid in. Friday, I'd get it. It was incredible. It went on for 5 years about. And we would flip out 5 properties, and then I'd also hold some too. So it was like a balance.
Yeah.
And which I believe you have to have in life, period, with everything.
Hedge your bets.
Yeah, exactly. So that just continued for that time. We had a good time, and we were helping a lot of people. There was one time I can remember this girl. She had 3 kids, and I liked helping the women in shelters. So I had a couple of shelters that I worked with, and it was really, really cool because I was getting them into properties. And then my ex-husband and I started Why Pay Rent Own. So we started doing a rent-to-own program. And it worked out. It blossomed to where other people were picking up on it and doing it too.
That's real cool.
Which was really cool.
So that's the biggest problem with a lot of people is like getting the start point, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. In fact, I was just talking to some people just this morning that a lot of people are squatting now in homes. We didn't have that going on back there. It wasn't as prominent because we were helping like that.
Yeah.
And it got into the city too, where even the housing authorities were working that way too, and they caught on to why not pay rent, and then own. And then the families were starting to really get what they wanted, which was really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
But it got so out of proportion with the way things are going. They took that good concept and turned it into something worse.
It's really tricky, like especially over here. I mean, coming over here, I don't exist in America pre-June.
Yeah.
And then I've also I've worked for myself, so then I have to prove 2 years of income. I'm like, doesn't exist. So the thing I'm trying to figure, I heard a video the other day, which was a really cool concept. It was called it's basically without banks. And this guy was speaking about a technique where you find a house where the person's kind of struggling to sell it, and you offer them 10% more than what they're asking. So say a house is $50,000. You go, all right, I'll pay $55,000 and I'll pay it off in full within 10 years. But here are the stipulations. First year, no deposit, and the first year I pay nothing. The second and third year I pay interest only, and then I pay from years 4 through to 10. I pay off principal and interest.
Same as a bank.
Same as a bank, but the seller is the bank in a way. Plus, it's no deposit, and first year is it's just you can get yourself ahead in that way. Obviously, if you default, they just get the house back that they couldn't sell anyway.
That's exactly
so. That made me just go, oh, that's an interesting thing. So I got one person that I got in mind to pitch that idea because they have a house that it's just sitting there. So I was like, all right, I'm going to see if I can pitch this to at least get, and I've done the numbers as best as my knowledge, and I'm going to ask other people to find out more, because it's like, okay, within the first, even if I do some renovations, say I put 5 to 10,000 into it to just fix a few things up, that interest will be like the revenue from the rentals,
Right.
will pay it off within the first 18 months. We'll pay that section of the
And
money.
that's how you have to look at it.
Yeah. And then, by the end of, I think, by the end of 10 years, it's just paying itself.
Correct.
And it's like, I've never really parted with money except for that initial 10,000.
It's that conservative way, because it's you either want it up front or you do it that spread out.
Yeah.
That way, spread out. And a lot of the big guys have a lot of properties now. It's a business. And you're building on your business to give yourself that income, and the equity grows.
Yeah.
So that to me was a no-brainer.
So you just right place, right time,
Exactly.
right accident. Have you read the book Outliers?
It sounds familiar.
So I'm reading it right now while audiobooking it.
What's it about?
It's about how people become extraordinary.
Okay.
And it's all to do with, like, the first few things are just, you do something the most, you'll get better. But it's also a lot of luck. It's not about how smart you are. There's also a lot of luck involved. And they use the example of the Beatles. So the Beatles, they got lucky in Germany. There was like a place where they end up playing, but then they do like 5 to sometimes 10 hours of shows of just covers. So they had to learn thousands of different songs. They were racking up, they were doing it multiple nights a week. So they were doing like 50 to 60 hours a week of practice. And once they came back to, I think it was London they lived. Once they came back from Germany a year and a half later, they were so far ahead of everyone else in terms of live music, being able to play. Like, they had 1,000 plus songs in their backlog of understanding different riffs and stuff. But they got lucky because that gig came up, and they they were kind of forced into doing it because they had no other option. But you take away that luck, they probably would never be in the Beatles. But then you got other people with super high IQ that never get in that sort of that lucky scenario, that they never really become as great as they could have been, even though they had all the tools available here. And
so they give you examples of all.
Yeah, so they've got 2 different ones. Like they've got Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. They go down the track of how many times both of them were actually lucky before they even were developing Windows or developing Mac, where they got lucky that the university didn't really care about them abusing how much time they were on the computers before computers were really
cool.
thing. They just got lucky. Whereas you got these other people who probably would have been just as incredible with that luck, but never got it. So they just, normal IT engineers instead.
That's pretty neat. Book. Yeah, that's it. I have to get that.
But it's also the hard work. So it sounds like something similar, and it doesn't discredit the hard work, but it's like, by that knowledge from design, then that great opportunity presented itself, and then it's like that lucky mistake, but then mixed with the tenacity and the hard work, it's like, oh, and now I'm here.
Right, exactly.
Because you can get good luck, but if you don't use it, it's
absolutely
nothing.
And I always said to my son, I don't want to ever be living with, I want you to have a better life. And the only way that's going to happen is knowing your road and following it.
Also being not afraid to not follow it sometimes.
Exactly.
Like that. Like, I think
true.
If you asked probably 2 years before, when you were a designer, like, do you reckon you get into real estate? You might have been like, not really my thing. But then the right thing, you're like, oh, this is fantastic.
This works, because then it's a win-win. Getting people homes.
Yeah.
And building on that. And it was a creative idea.
Yeah.
So it took my creativity into something that I can help people live,
Yeah.
you know. And now it's just, you know, helping people find homes or businesses, either one, but mostly the homes. So that the same thing, but just a different category.
Yeah.
That's all. It's just really, that's why I said I don't stop from doing anything depending on what the person wants.
Yeah.
It could be that person that only wants a $100,000 home. It could be that person that wants a $10 million home. They're both the same. One just has more money than the other.
Yeah.
That's it. So, but they're both looking at homes. So.
Yeah, it's very interesting how many people you seem to know as well. Like every time I'll see, because I follow a lot of people on social media, and then they'll do a message where it's like, I'm looking for this or that. And I'll be like, at the beginning, I'd message a group, and they're like, Sue will know that. Like, I remember that Boca Raton one.
I guess that's
back.
Being old enough and being around for a while.
Having the experience.
Well, okay. I like that.
Yeah. Because I remember the Boca Raton one. Like, it was a guy that I follow, and he's fantastic. But and he's like looking for a place in Boca Raton. You're like, yeah, I know someone. I'm like, cool. I mean, he never saw my DM because he's pretty big. But I was like, I'll give it a shot and see. That dude makes some cash though.
Really?
Oh, like he's.
What do you do?
He got into Facebook ads very early in the game.
Okay.
Now he's into crypto very early in the game. But there's just, I swear he's buying a new house every month. But it's not even like he's buying a house as an investment. It's just like, I need to park my money somewhere.
Well, that's what a lot of people like.
Yeah.
They have to.
And he puts like, I don't know, a while back, he was putting $25,000 a day into Bitcoin.
Wow.
Like, and that was his dollar cost averaging move. Like mine's like $300 a week. You know, people are like, you're crazy. I'm like, I know guys that put 25 grand a day. Or I know of people. And it's like, but he has like a new freaking car that's like $200,000 plus. And they're like, it seems like it's every alternate week. And he loves them.
And how do you know this guy?
I don't. I follow him. And he's not even someone who's seeking fame, which is kind of great. Like he was the social media guy for Logan Paul, that massive YouTuber.
Okay.
And that's how I found out about him. I was like, oh, this guy's interesting. I'm going to follow him. But I'm just like, how much money does this guy make? Like, I'm like, and it's so much money that you start going, does he deal drugs or something too? Because this guy he's on a private jet all the time, but he's not this big, boisterous personality.
You would never know by looking at him.
You'd probably know because of how much things he has with, like, he loves his toys.
But sitting and talking to him, if you didn't have the things around him.
I feel like most people are like that though. Unless they are verbally like, this is how great I am.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Is he down to earth, that kind of a person?
He's intense, but I feel as well, like, I mean, you have to, yeah, I don't know. Like he's very like go, go, go.
Okay.
But not in a annoying way, if that makes sense. The best example is my best friend's family. They went from zero to $250 million, sorry, across 20 years. They started, again, it was right place, right time, great amount of tenacity, just selling or renting temporary fences for construction sites.
That's it. Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
So
That's
back
neat.
in like the 90s or maybe even late 80s, they started. They just wanted to start something, and they're looking
concept.
around. Whoa, it was. They got laughed out of the banks for the first 5 years because it wasn't a thing. Like now, at hindsight, you're like, of course. But I remember that their friend was in America, just taking random photos of everything, and they saw a construction site, and it was in the background of a photo, and my mate's dad just goes, that's our business. And he's like, what construction? He goes, no. And he noticed that the construction site was wide open. You could just walk in, no problem.
It wasn't enclosed?
No.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, that's our business. All you need is, a couple of metal pipes, put whatever it is in it, some plastic mounts, and it's just put them in.
That's a great idea.
And so the first few years, again, this is where the hard work and luck meet. his mum was working in a bank. His dad was the sales guy, going from construction company to construction company. Some of them like, yeah, kind of, maybe. And he's like, I'll rent it. Like, it's $6 a day. It's, whatever per square. And then by luck, Australia tightened their safety regulations. And when they tightened that up, they were the only ones there. And it was like, started growing. The banks went from laughing them out of the bank to, hey, come here, we'll lend you more money. And then where they really took off was they won the bid for the 2000 Sydney Olympics.
Oh, wow.
So it was on the world stage, especially Australia, but everywhere.
Wow.
Across the whole, because they are now used also to just sort of, I guess, cattle everyone into areas.
Okay.
So it was also like a great fence. And every single thing has a little, sign of their business.
Wow.
And then 6 years later, they sold it for $250 million.
Wow.
But they came from nothing. But that was another example of people who go like, oh, that's crazy. It's like, no, they had crazy.
Just from that idea, looking in a magazine.
Right idea, right work ethic, right luck of tightening it up when no one else really cared.
So my grandfather was an inventor. Both actually were inventors, both sides. And my one grandfather was an artist who did a lot of the inventions. It's funny that you're bringing that idea, and it's so simple. He needed a shoe shiner. And the shoe shiners were the guys that you'd sit up there and they'd shine your shoes. He says, but I don't want to bring somebody in my house to shine my shoes, so I got to create something. So he did. So it's a black and red. It's cloth, like I call it a shag carpet, but and it's a base where you would shine. You put your shoe underneath the red or the black, and it shines your shoes. And you push a button, and that was him.
Really?
Yeah, he wanted a shoe shiner.
Wow.
So he did it. So from the idea of what do you need comes creativity. Yeah. Which I think is so cool. Definitely. And I think that's where I got a lot of it. My father was like that. My uncle, I have a lot of family in the building and construction and architectural. So that creativity really enhances as you get older. Yeah. And you think about all of that.
You've got to enjoy it though.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's the one thing when I hear people, I mean, employees I can kind of understand, but also I'm like when you're like, how's your day going? Oh, it's Monday again. I'm like, dude, you're setting yourself up for failure. I'm like, I can't wait for Monday. I'm like, come on. You
got to be happy with what you're doing.
Yeah. Like, you've really got to. Yeah. And if you don't, like, try and at least find the enjoyment.
Exactly.
Or find something else.
Exactly.
I've never understood that.
No, I don't either. I've always, I mean, I got to say I remember, but I learned. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be happy with whatever I did. So I think when you look inside of yourself and you really take that hardcore look and you say, well, what do I like to do? Yeah. And then you write a list. Just make a list. Put it down on a piece of paper and then talk to yourself about it, And then just figure it out. Pick one. Just start with one. See if you're going to like it. If you like it, stick with it.
Yeah. Well, that's what led me to this podcast, because I was like, well, I like meeting people. I like making videos. And I also need to, again, no one knows me in this area. I now need to speed that up somehow. So I was like, I could just go constantly to place, but that also doesn't scale. And my brain is like, it's a numbers thing. And I was like, do a podcast. Yeah. And then if people find it enjoying, that's great. If I can provide a service, again, with these questions, if someone's listening in on their drive to and from work or between clients, and they can be like, I'm just going to listen in and, oh, that person's interesting. Like, I really like Sue. And I'm going to contact her, or I'll save her details for later. That's cool. Yeah. But in the meantime, I'm just getting to shoot the shit. This is great.
Yeah,
and that was how the idea came.
It's a good one-on-one.
Literally.
We're supposed to be doing that, too, in our network group.
Yeah. We do that.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
I know. I think that was my mindset too. Like I always try and maximize the time where I was like, all right, I go and do a face-to-face. It's that one time, done. But I could do a face-to-face, and then now our face-to-face is other people can listen to it, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
So now your time is worth more.
And we could be here for about 8-10 hours anyway, because we love to talk to one another.
It is funny how fast time flies.
I know.
I had Bill yesterday, and he's just like, all right, that's been 2 hours. He's like, what? Huh? He goes, I thought it'd be an hour. And then he's talking to someone outside about it, and he goes, yeah, like we spoke a bit about business, like probably 10, 15 minutes. So I was like, that was an hour. He goes, huh? I was like, yeah. Like, it goes quick.
He didn't want to stop.
No.
Yeah, no. I totally understand that. Because it's fun.
Exactly. And, but I mean, like, I've still got to vet the people that I get on here, like, to a degree, because I'm like, it also needs to be an entertaining podcast for people, you know?
That's true.
Because there's nothing worse than, like, when you're playing racquet ball with a squishy ball. Like, you whack the ball, it's and then nothing comes back. You're like, okay, well. So, no. But, so how long have you been, because you said you started Philadelphia, you said?
I'm from Philadelphia.
From Philly?
Mm-hmm.
Love Park. I love Park. Just from the skateboarding days, I grew up seeing it. When did you move here?
So, my ex-husband and his wife came in the 90s, in the mid-90s, and they had more freedom than I did because I had a lot of clients I was dealing with back in Philly. So our son wanted to join the minor leagues for baseball. So that's where it all started. And we always wanted to be in Florida. We always talked about it and finally did it. So he did first.
And how long ago was that?
It was in the mid-90s.
Okay.
I want to say 95, something like that. And he and his wife, they scouted Florida and picked out the location, which was Marco Island. So we said, okay, well, we always had our son in private school. So we put him into Community School of Naples. And he finished his last year and a half there. And then he winds up in Annapolis. So I'm like, well, why am I going to move down? You know, I might as well just stay in where I'm at and just visit him in Annapolis. So I did. And 4 years later, he graduates, comes back down, and says, Mom, I don't want to stay with Dad. Can we just get a place in Naples? I said, well, what's Naples? And he says, you're going to like it a lot better. There's more to do in Naples than there is in Marco. And I really liked Marco, but I did understand what he was saying.
Yeah.
Bought a house, and he stayed in it first year. That was in 2003. So 2004 is when I came.
Okay.
But I was going back and forth that whole time while he was here until he went to Annapolis and then bought in Naples.
Gotcha. And then Naples just blown up the last
in
15
fact,
years.
The first couple years I wasn't even working because I didn't need to. I had all my properties, and they were bringing in the rents, and I said, I need a break. So I said...
Midlife retirement, huh?
Absolutely. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to start doing things I like. So I went sailing, tennis, golf. I just kept going. And I was busy with my social life. But then the crash hit, and I figured, I think I better start working just a little bit just to maintain. And that's when I got it's either design or real estate. Well, every other door was a decorator, we call them.
A decorator?
They weren't really designers. And, you know, I've
decorator.
got,
Now I get it.
decorators. And, you know, I'm used to drawing and scaling down on paper, and they didn't even know what that was. And I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. That means starting all over again. It's a lot of work. And I still had my name up in Philly, so I figured I don't need to do that except with people I know. So I said, okay, real estate. I'll do that. That's easier. But it does take time because just like you got to build yourself up again with people. So I did. And it took me about 2 or 3 years, stuck it out, and here I am. And I've got a really large clientele list now.
Did that work out well with like starting real estate during that crash? Was that like a strength because you could buy stuff cheap, or was it like a real hindrance?
For me, everybody says, why are you getting your license now? Well, it's the best time to do it. Just like stocks, you buy low.
Yeah.
What's the difference? It's just a different platform. So I got it, and I knew it was going to be a struggle, but it was the best for me to do it in my philosophy. And it worked out like a charm. So if that answered your question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember in Australia, we're looking at places because Australia didn't seem to get here. I think it really was America.
Okay.
They were like houses for like 15 grand. And I know that's still not...
How long ago?
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Back with that. And well, because Australians were buying in.
Yeah.
Because when you buy in America, you have to, if you're not a resident, you have to buy in full. You know, like you can't get a loan. There's very few places that will give you an international loan.
Okay.
That if you're going to invest, it's like if the house is 15 grand, you put in 15 grand. But I remember just seeing that, and like obviously where I come in Sydney, my apartment is like 1.1 million.
Wow.
Like, which is like, that's when I look at houses here and people are like, oh, it's a $1 million house. I'm like, it ain't a house, that's a mansion, dude. Like, that is huge. But I did notice though, Australians seem to compare like the middle of nowhere in America about how cheap it is, and then compare it with Sydney. I'm like, no.
I didn't realize that Sydney was that high.
Sydney, so Australia is like 80% or more of our population. Mind you, Australia's the size of North America with the population of Florida. But 40-ish% of that population is just in 2 of the main cities, because 80% of the population is within 35 miles of the coast.
Okay.
And mostly the East Coast. Like pretty much you go 50 miles out of the East Coast, and there's very few humans until you get to the other side of Perth, when Perth only really has 1 million. But Western Australia, that state, is the size of the third of the country. So the equivalent of 13 states here.
Wow.
So, but not like East states where they're tiny. I mean like the big states.
Wow.
So
that's one place I always wanted to go to.
Oh, you got
that
it.
was on my that is on my bucket list to do it. But I have you now.
Yeah, it's not the same. You got to go there. The reason being that why everything's so expensive there is because we build up, not out. America builds out. Australia seems to build up. So there is a lot of skyscrapers. Most people live in apartments. So like with downtown, I guess if you think of LA, you've got downtown, which is buildings, and then just flat because everyone just builds out. Sydney seems to build up, move out a little bit, build up, move out a little bit, build up. And it will be 25, 35, 40 story buildings. And everyone just piles up. So if you wanted a house, like the area that my parents live in, that I grew up in, their house now, it's a nice house, but I mean, they could probably sell it for 4.5, 5.5 million.
Wow.
It's just stupid, because I remember even when I was late teens, it was like, oh, we could probably sell this for 2.3. I'm like, how?
So is that more on the lines of California? Sounds like it.
In LA, maybe, like really LA,
yeah.
Probably. But LA, like California still feels cheap compared to, because I remember, I mean, I'm kind of, maybe my reference points are off, but I remember my friend, same friend with the family that built the fencing company. He at 18 started a motocross company, and then a team, and then 4 or 5 years in moved to America to further that business. He bought a house, I think, in 2009, and it was a $1 million house that he bought for like $125,000. in cash.
Gosh.
He was like, "This is great."
Wow.
But
So
yeah,
it's
actually probably not like LA now.
Yeah.
LA outside of I'm thinking LA '08. So yeah, probably similar to that.
it's the price structure is what I'm thinking. Seems to be close to that.
Yeah.
Like New York, Chicago.
New York's wild.
They're crazy.
I remember just eating out and I was like,
I know.
how do people live here? This is wild.
It's nice to visit. Don't want to live there.
And also, everything's so loud because it bounces off the buildings. Like the sirens. Every time I heard a siren from far away, I was like, fingers in the hole. Like in the ears, because I was like, not listening to that.
No, it's horrible.
People just seem to be used to it. I'm
It's
they
not
must
like
be
that
deaf.
in Sydney, is it?
No.
From what you're saying.
Everything's close, but like those places where they build upwards, you're still surrounded by water. You're surrounded by a lot of greenery. New York doesn't seem like that except for Central Park. It also doesn't have. It doesn't feel as busy, if that makes sense. Even though everything was within, 15 minutes away for me was like ugh, because everything was so close. Here it's like it's an hour and away. In Australia, if I drove an hour and a half, that was our weekend adventures. We'd go to places that were nicer than Hawaii, which were just an hour and a half, 2 hour drive away. Like on Sundays, we would hop in the car at 8 a.m., drive out by 10 a.m., we're in some oasis style place, hanging out beaches where there's no one. Like there might be 2 other people on this beach. And then we'd drive back at night, get home at like 8 p.m.
That's awesome.
So it was like a holiday every
I might not
weekend.
want to come back.
You won't. Hey, we're waiting for everything to open up over there. Just because we're not vaccinated, we've all had COVID, we're fine. We're like, it's just not for us. But Australia is still a little bit,
Are they still strict there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went so far down the rabbit hole that cognitive dissonance is kicking in now, where they can't just be like, all right, cool, look, the science actually shows you may as well, it doesn't matter too much, but if you want to get it. Because of the heavy lockdowns, fear, and everything they had, you can't just unravel that in a week. It's like you got to sort of be like, all right, we'll let this. And then like 3 or 4 weeks or months later, now they slowly are unraveling it so they can save face. Because you can't just all of a sudden be like, they got slapped in the face with the vaccine, thankfully. Like they locked down, those heavy lockdowns, got up to 90% vaccination rate, and then as the natural curve just started coming back down because it was seasonal, that's when they started opening everything up. So this correlation equaled causation for a lot of people. Because I remember speaking to a few people and they're like, well, no, the fact that the cases are coming down is proof that the vaccine reduces transmission. I'm like, oh no. But then luckily 3, 4 or so, maybe a few more extra weeks after that, they let people into the country. Omicron got in, and it, like, if you look at the graph, it's like a wall. It goes from their peak of 800 cases a day to 60,000 cases a day, which for Sydney or New South Wales, the density ratio was equal to 4 times higher than Florida's worst day.
Wow.
So it was like this slap in the face.
Just from letting people in.
Letting people in, and then having Omicron come through when everything was back open. It was like, it went from one case is one case too many to this, you guys are 90% vaccinated, here's how high the spike goes, to all of a sudden they're going, we just need to learn how to live with it. I was like, I've been saying that for a while.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm hoping that by the time we want to visit in November, we can...
How long are you going to go for?
It'll be a month, because it's 26 hours of flying.
Yeah.
Also, there's so many people we have to see.
Yeah. You haven't seen them in a long time.
No.
Either.
Thankfully, like, social media has allowed us to keep up. Like, again, people want to shit on social media. Take that out. I wouldn't have been able to just do touch points with all my friends, my family, as easily as it is.
No, I totally agree with you. It's the same thing with me too. because I've got friends abroad,
Yeah.
and some of them have condos here, but then I met friends through friends.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. We talk. You're right. Social media does help a lot.
Yeah. Like I didn't really travel until, because social media probably really started coming in when I was 16, 17. Like Facebook,
Okay.
like MySpace was before that. Good old MySpace.
I remember MySpace.
Everyone was friends with Tom.
Yes.
But I remember Facebook slowly started creeping in when I was about 17, 18. So no one I knew was really abroad. So I wouldn't imagine. It's interesting to think now what it would be like. Do I write them? Like I'd have
Well,
to call
COVID really
them.
opened all that up too.
Yeah.
A lot of people staying home and they can't see anybody. They can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And it
Could you
made
imagine
people
COVID
think,
without the internet?
oh my gosh.
People would go insane.
Oh my
think, though,
gosh.
I don't think it would have been as hyperbolic.
It probably would not have been.
Like a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Because this was the first pandemic. Oh, sorry, epidemic? Pandemic.
Pandemic.
First pandemic that we had the internet. Like, could you imagine
Yeah.
SARS? That
Oh
was
my
that was like
gosh.
2014, I think, or
Yeah.
earlier. Whatever it was.
I
was
don't
around
remember exactly.
Could you like that? Didn't like the internet wasn't as mainstream as it was in 2020. I think we would have been as freaked out, as
agree.
COVID. So, and also you got the news. The news, they know that, fear and hyperbole gets clicks, it gets advertising money.
That's what they feed on.
Yeah, and it's not their fault. They're trying to make money.
Yeah.
But it was like this whole ecosystem that just created a beast.
They could be more subtle, I think. Even though, yes, that's the way they make their money, but to scare people as broadly as they did is not fair.
No. The thing, you don't know you're doing it sometimes, though. Like, you know when, like...
Yeah, because you're in a conversation or whatever you're thinking and things pop out.
Yeah, but also on social media, you don't see... Like, you do a post.
Yeah.
You don't see the people freaking out. But then also, you're getting the post, you're freaking out because you're angry, and then you share it, and then it's like this...
Rippling effect.
Yeah. So, I don't think anyone's necessarily evil.
No.
But it's just more like, well, I need money. And like we justify it, well, I need money. So I'm just going to talk about this freaking scary thing. But it feels like COVID really undermined a lot of the news, that a lot of those platforms that are quite neutral now are starting to really pick up in like on the internet and stuff like that.
Yeah. And people are holding on to it more because they realize, hey, this is not bad. Maybe we should utilize it. It does have good use.
Yeah. I remember talking to Michelle because she's like, I don't even remember, like, what was everyone irate about before COVID? Because it's like, it's Iraq, then it was, sorry, it's not Iraq, it's Ukraine, then it was COVID before that. And I was like, it was Trump. She's like, oh yeah. I'm like, that's what everyone was angry about. But she's like, what about before that? I'm like, I don't even know. I think
I
it was
don't
too
even
early.
remember.
We didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
I think it's just, again, internet is so amazing, but so problematic too.
Yeah.
It's just a magnifying glass on humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
How was Turkey when you went over? Like, because you went...
Like here.
Oh, really? Like Florida?
It's where they're at, and it's a temporary thing for them. It's like a small Manhattan. It's really interesting. You could walk a block and there's all the jazz clubs. It was really cool. You walk over, everything's within walking distance. They were
nice.
like 2 blocks to the water. Her mother lives on the other side, and her sister and her aunt. It was just really cool. It's
and
so beautiful.
Are they open, or are they still like...
They didn't have. I didn't see people wearing masks.
Oh, cool. That's good.
And you would think, now, I don't know how it was in Istanbul, but this is in an area that's like a beachy resort area. From what I hear in Istanbul, they were wearing masks, but not as heavily.
Gotcha.
He's one of his best friends there too, from college. And he's from Turkey. He's from Istanbul. And I remember him saying it wasn't heavily masked.
Really?
It really depends on the areas you go in and how people react.
Yeah. It feels like anywhere that's like heavily populated, which seemed anyway.
I kind of yeah.
Yeah. If like, cause Miami, for example, even though people go like Florida's whatever,
Oh,
Miami was still a little bit like mask ups. I think apparently
Right.
they only got rid of like their mask mandate, I think like late last year. Whereas out here, everyone was just like,
we were already not. And yeah, Miami was. They had their masks. They were late in the game to get rid of it.
they're a little bit more like left-leaning though, which is so ridiculous that it's like, tell me the politics and I can tell you the restrictions.
Yeah.
Like it's so ridiculous. Like, okay, that place is Republican. How far right? All right, they're crazy right. They didn't care at all. All right, how liberal are they? Oh, they're far left. All right, they're still in lockdown.
What
It's
was
so
it before
bizarre.
Trump? That's interesting. I wonder what it was before Trump. I can't remember.
I think again, it
don't
comes down to
remember.
the internet though. The internet has magnified everything of how we feel. So if you're narcissistic, you're going to be narcissistic on an nth degree on the internet. If you're positive, you're going to share more positivity because you can't. Because the internet is just something the internet creates everything at scale. So, like, that's why when you've got Trump, someone like Trump, who is a mixture of insecure / doesn't care, but then you've got him mixed with a sensationalist media because they know that sensationalism and anger is what gets the clicks. You've got this perfect beast.
Yeah.
And so you've got like, it just went nuts when because he like 2016 was really when when internet really started exponentially growing. You had like YouTube's massive spike in popularity went from 2015 through to 2017. And that's when Trump came into office in 2016.
And there was Obama before.
Obama was before. Obama seemed to regulate a lot of this stuff. Like he
Yeah.
was really well spoken. Like outside of any political view or anything like that, he was a great speaker.
He was a really good speaker, and that's why I think he ran for 2 terms.
Yes. Yeah, and he was very. He was relatable. I think I sent this on Michelle's podcast where Obama was the first president to kind of dip into pop culture. Like he was on Saturday Night Live doing the drop mic.
That's true.
And like, because one of my a guy
Michelle did too, because she was on The View.
Yeah. Well, they lent into that. That's when a guy I knew back in Sydney when it was the Hillary versus Trump. I'm like, dude, no way Trump's getting in. He called it so early. He's like, he will, because Obama made it popular to be the president, and Trump is popular. And he called it well. But it was funny seeing the left who were like, yeah, Obama and Michelle are kind of hip and cool, and they lean into the relaxed colloquialism of the like being a president. The right hated it. He doesn't take his job serious. He's this, he's that. Then Trump happens, and the right's like, he's hip, he's cool. And the left is like, he doesn't take his job seriously. But I just think there wasn't the means to be offended and angry on scale before Trump because the internet really spiked in 2015, 16, 17.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to see, because even now, like everyone's angry about Biden. Even the left are like, and the right is just crazy angry at him. Because we see a lot more now. People can share getting angry, can share stuff out of context. That it's kind of like, shit, what happens in 2024?
I know.
You know?
That's what everybody's waiting for.
I think the time of like this might be pessimistic, but the time of like people doing 2 terms is going to get more and more less like it used to always be like if you did a single tour, it just feels like everyone gets so angry that it's like we want to change here, we want to change there.
I think it's really dependent upon the changes that are made inside the government. That's what's going to determine whether that happens or not. It's right now it's so sticky. We think that way.
Yeah.
But you don't know what the future is going to hold. So
true.
we could have another 2-term, depending on what happens.
2024 will tell.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Okay, yeah, and we're going to be here to say it.
Just can America get, and this is from an Aussie who's, I mean, my opinion's worth nothing. Surely there's better options.
I would hope so.
You know? Like, that's the best that America has.
I know.
It
stinks.
But so it's funny because Australia just doesn't care. We're like, we got to, voting's compulsory. So it's quite funny seeing Australia where, by and large, politics, we don't give a crap, even though it's compulsory. Mm-hmm. Whereas here, it's optional.
Oh.
And it's so important. Like, I didn't know half the stuff that ScoMo, our Prime Minister, did. And people would be angry about something he did. I'm like, oh, he did that? Oh, he didn't do that? Oh, okay. Oh, he did this. He was in Hawaii when the thing kicked off, like COVID. And they're like, he doesn't care. I'm like, what you going to do? I just didn't care.
So nonchalant.
Yeah, like the majority, like the vast majority don't really care. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, maybe it's just because America's like on the world stage all the time. Maybe that's the reason.
Could be.
Yeah.
We like being on stage.
You guys are the best at it. Hollywood is like, look, America really penetrated the global culture in a way that hasn't been seen before. You know, like you go around everywhere, like people start dressing like more like the hip hop people that they like, or, you know, like America's power is in its cultural influence. So, I mean,
what did you think about the other? Did you see with Will Smith and Chris Rock?
Yeah. I love when people are like, it's fake. I'm like, it's not.
No.
It's weird. It's kind of sad too, because it's like, you look at all the things in that ecosystem of it. One, it's a comedian's delight. You've got Will Smith hitting rock. Like, you've got all these jokes, and then you've got, unfortunately, the history of Will Smith and Jada, which then, like, it's just so many layers to it. It's kind of nice to see something that doesn't really matter be popular for a second. You know, like it's going from COVID or Trump, COVID, Ukraine, Will Smith slapping rock. I'm like, I can deal with this. Like, it's sad that I'm saying more of this, please.
Oh, gosh.
The memes are fantastic, though.
Oh, my gosh. That was like...
How'd you find out about it? Mine was through memes. I was like, what happened?
We were watching it.
Really?
Yeah. It just happened. Mm-hmm. Because it was the Emmys? Oscars.
They all
it was
blend
the Oscars
in.
got an Oscar. They do.
It's kind of a dying thing. Like, I think less and less people care. Mm-hmm. It's probably, that slap probably made the Oscars the most relevant it's been in a very long time.
Oh my gosh. It's like just being an actor. It's like, come on, guys. You know?
It undermined, who was it? Bill Maher. He was talking about it and he goes, it's really disappointing more on the Oscars because it's super it highlighted how fake the whole thing is.
Yeah.
Like, if that was anyone other than someone that they knew was going to win the Oscar, they'd be escorted out, probably arrested.
Exactly.
If that was just like a cameraman, he'd be in jail right now. But the fact that he physically assaults someone on live television,
he got away with it.
And then goes and sits back down.
I know.
And everyone's like giving him an applause at his freaking virtue signaling crappy speech.
It was ridiculous.
It's very weird. But
it was so ridiculous because it's part of the comedians' punchlines. They do
he got
that.
punched almost.
Well, he did get punched. That's for sure.
Punchline.
It was a punchline, all right.
The best joke I've heard so far was it was Will Smith's hand was symbolic of his relationship. Open, but he wished it was closed. That's the one that I keep going back to.
That is so cool. That's funny.
He's I don't know. It's weird. It's kind of sad because I do not idolize him, but I'm like, he's always been the guy. And I think he can see that it's slipping away.
But that's what the actors do. They do that.
But could you imagine though?
And they can get away with it.
That is weird. But from his point of view too, like, could you imagine being like the guy? You go from when he was 22, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air came out. Mm-hmm. He's always being.
Was he 22 or younger than that?
I think he was younger when it was like him and the DJ, the band.
Yeah.
Then that turned into a TV show. Mm-hmm. But like he's had 35 years of like A-list fame and being the guy. Mm-hmm. That surely he feels it's slipping away. Like movies aren't as popular as YouTubers now. He's had all that crap with Jada. Yeah. Who knows what else is happening in the back. Like it just, that whole thing made her look really manipulative and evil. He made her, like that action made her look real bad.
I kind of thought it made him look bad.
It made both of them. But like you see the cuts where it's like, Bill Maher said it again. He goes, it was a personification of cancel culture. The comedian said the joke, cuts to Will Smith, he laughs. And then it's, that's funny. Oh, wait, I'm meant to be offended? All right, bang. I was like...
No, yeah.
It was like the persona... Like, most people laugh at first, and then it's like... and like, oh, yeah, this is bad. Like, no, it's not. And, like, you see, like, that one cutaway was, like, the worst part. If he just walked up, people would be like, all right, what happened?
Yeah.
But you see him laugh, Jada not, and then all of a sudden he's slapping Rock, and you're like, what happened? So...
But I kind of thought... I think it was real embarrassing for her.
Yeah. You mean the joke, or you think, or the, like, him slapping Rock?
It was sad, and you're right. It's mixed at the same time. It's sad for her. It's sad for him because he loves her. But the joke at the same time was just a joke.
And it's just about her shaved head. I don't think he knew about the...
I don't think he completely... Well, no, he must have.
Well, apparently Chris Rock didn't know that he had that she had alopecia. Apparently.
Is that what they said afterwards? Because it seemed like I thought he did.
So apparently, Chris Rock didn't write the joke. It was a writer who wrote the joke.
Gotcha.
And I mean, you're referencing a lady with a shaved head who's had a shaved head for as long as I can remember. And he's referencing Demi Moore, who, you know, if I'm a woman, I'd be happily referenced as Demi Moore. Like, thank you for the compliment. And a fit Demi Moore as well. And even that, like, I mean, you think of the jokes he could have made?
Yeah.
You know? Like, again, another meme which was, you know, shout out to Will Smith. Imagine standing up for someone else's woman like that. And the thing is, like, it could have been a joke that was brushed over. No one really watches the Oscars except for yourself.
Sometimes. I just happened to be flipping the channel and said, oh.
Yeah. But, like, no one really watches it. But now it's like the whole internet is memeing way worse jokes. Like the two I've just said.
Yeah.
Are way worse than that. I wonder if I don't know. I wonder if they even thought that was going to happen, or...
I don't think so.
I don't think he thought.
I don't think so. I think his heart was just... Sometimes it just gets hurt unexpectedly. You don't know what was happening at that moment or right before or something. And that hit a reaction at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Maybe he wouldn't have reacted if he wasn't so emotional.
Yeah.
But he hit a sensitive spot at that moment.
It's just a weird joke, though.
Yeah, it was.
It's a weird joke.
It was a weird joke.
Of all things, like I said, of all things he could have said.
Why that?
Yeah. Anywho's, it's a weird one.
We'll get off that subject.
Yeah, no, they're like, I've just been watching the internet the whole time with like this meme after meme after meme after meme. Again, it's great that my Instagram feed is no longer COVID or Ukraine for a second. As selfish as that sounds, I'm like, good, some laughter for a change.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, there's no laughter where that is.
Whoa, ginger.
Oh, it's good.
No, it's great.
Boing! It's that punch.
It definitely is a punch. I feel like, yeah, it just feels like it cleans out my insides.
So tell me about the baby.
Oh, what do you want to know?
She's so cute.
She is. I try and.
What's she doing now?
She sits up, which is great. Oh no, she crawls.
I was going to say at this point she must be in the crawling stage.
A lot. She does a lot of belly rolls / her. It's so funny watching her head, like, because she'll kick her feet, her face plows into the ground, and then she moves her hands. Like, she hasn't got the timing right yet. It's feet, face, hands. Feet, face, hands. So
is she standing up at all?
She's not standing up just yet. In the walker, she runs.
Oh wow.
In terms like, and if I hold her hands, she'll walk. Really wobbly, but she makes noises now. She's going through that 6-month growth spurt where she wants to eat all the time.
Wow.
And she's back to the wailing, so she's like just crazy screams at night. So I feel for Stace, because Stace is the one that brunts all of it, you know, like at least 90% of it. Because I've been lucky, like whenever I've got Sienna, we're out and about, so she's occupied the whole time. I think she's going to be like me, where it's just like she has to be around people all the time and just not networking, but like she's inquisitive.
She's stimulated by people.
Yeah.
That's
like,
good.
It's good. She just loves being around things. I try and avoid, like events. I try and avoid her doing, like, after I read a book, and I forget the name again, it's about addiction. It talks about computers and everything, and it's saying that kids shouldn't use screens until 2 years of age, because it can ruin their ability to like spatial awareness and stimulation as well, because a lot of stuff now is highly stimulating that can create the propensity for like anxiety and high functioning
makes sense
brains. So I'm avoiding that. But she loves getting outside. She's, you know, which is great, because so do I. So she's outside. She's moving about, meeting people like here. And she's so lovely. Like, she just smiles at everyone. So, yeah, people around her. And, like, she looks like a doll for starters. Like, and then everyone's just like, oh, my gosh.
Oh, I can't wait to meet her.
You haven't met her yet?
No.
Aye.
No. I don't think you brought her in.
I haven't brought her to my...
No,
my show and tell.
Bring her.
That can be my next showcase.
Like Danielle does. She'll bring in the kids sometimes.
Oh, okay. Well, the trick is I got to get Stacey to let me part with her.
Yeah.
I got to let Stacey to take her, because I was meant to bring her to that event on Thursday. Was it Thursday?
Was it Thursday?
Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday when everybody got together.
Yeah. Stacey had a meeting, a Zoom meeting at 8:00, and I was like, look, I'm not going to be back in time. I'll just take Sienna with me. And it's, you know, I'm happy to do that. And she's like, all right, cool. That was the morning.
And then the afternoon.
As the day progressed, it was like, are you sure they're okay with it? I'm like, everyone's okay with Sienna being there. Like, trust me. They want, like, I got there and they're like, where's the baby? Like, they were disappointed. I'm like, take it up with Stacey. As the day progressed, she's like, oh, I don't know, maybe not. And then as I'm like, all right, I'm leaving now. Do you want me to take Sienna? Nah, don't worry about it. And I was like, all right, just remember.
I could have given you that break.
Yeah, I tried. And I messaged Stace at like, oh gosh, probably 7:45, and I was, you know, how's Sienna? Because I'll probably be home about 8:30. I was there by 9 probably. But she messaged me going, keeping her was a bad idea. I was like, I'm like.
The next time you ask her, she'll like, sure.
Well, because around that, like Stacey's logic was around that time she needs to start cluster feeding. She gets angry, all this sort of stuff. I'm like, yeah, but she'll be stimulated. Like there's a group of people. But apparently Sienna was great. She slept the whole time until Stacey needed to get on the call. And then it was back to the...
When she was on the call?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. But when I got home, it was fine. Stace was just like, well, here she is. I was like, yeah. So she was very cool with it, where I was worried about her being like... Because I said I'd probably be home at 8:30 and I was there at 9. So I was emotionally prepared for, you're late! But no, she was great.
What is she doing now, Stace?
So Stace does... at the moment, she's doing secretarial work or virtual assistant work for the people that she actually did their course for 2 years ago to develop online courses. They loved her so much, and they were like, look, we know you can't do the course stuff at the moment because of Sienna. Would you like to do some virtual administration stuff? And she was like, shit, yeah. So now she sees the back end of all that stuff. She sees how they operate, and she's learning a lot from that. And she wants to get back into doing some of that coaching again.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what she did, is coach?
Yeah, like relationship stuff.
Okay.
She's great at it.
That's cool.
She's the biggest hurdle for her is realizing that also relationships aren't perfect. Because the first year or 2 hours was like, there was nothing, we were in a honeymoon phase. Now it's like we're in the other side of the country, other side of the world, starting a family, starting a business with 0 contacts. And obviously, it's like we're still living at the in-laws' house because I'm like, well, and it's their vacation home, so it's not bad. But I get where she wants to be. She wants to be, in our own house and doing, this, and this. And I'm like...
Takes time.
Yeah. And so that's like one of the hurdles. And also mean I have to be out and about because, again, I'm trying to build a business from zero. Literally ground zero. But I'm also trying to juggle being there. So it's like... There's a lot of hurdles we're going through right now, but it's kind of interesting to see it unfold.
What were you doing up in Virginia?
West Virginia?
Yeah.
So I help their pest control up there.
Who is?
My father-in-law's.
Okay.
So, I'm there.
Is that where they're from? Okay.
Yeah, on the border of West Virginia and Ohio.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And so I help with...
Is that Charlottesville?
No, it's Vienna, Parkersburg.
Okay.
Charlottesville, I think that's...
Is that north?
I don't know. I'm terrible. I know where I have to go, and
I know. I remember going to Charlottesville, and it was a really cool town.
Yeah, West Virginia is cool.
It is.
It's just unfortunate. It's like whenever people reference like the ignorant hick, it seems like West Virginia is the state that no one goes like, like Tennessee. Like everyone goes West Virginia. Which is
because they have a lot of farmland out there too. It's beautiful. It's really pretty.
It's a beautiful state. But so I'm up there. I help them with what is it? Just systems, HR.
Okay.
Building sales as well. It started just as the marketing stuff, like the videos. I'm going back up there.
So he's got a big business up there.
It does well.
Okay.
Yeah. There was just a lot of things where I was like, all right, you're making this much. You should be making 2 to 4x of that.
Gotcha.
It's just, again, that's why I had the calls before. I was like, it was just managing a few emotions where it's like, okay, don't get too involved in that thing. Let the other guys do their thing. But, I think I'm on the phone like every day now with like juggling between people and,
That's a lot.
Yeah. But it's a really cool experience to learn people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also like just seeing I'm learning how to improve systems slowly through businesses, which I've always worked for myself. So I want something done, I can just go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, and you know, Steve's very much the same. Oh, we'll change this now. I'm like, it's not how you can't tell 20 people you're changing something now and expect it to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been really cool.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So your business is
mostly just videos.
okay.
That's what I'm focusing on.
Okay.
Similar, like we've spoken about it. I mean, I've said it so many times that
Yeah.
things I'm like, treat your content like dating.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are that douchey dude at a bar trying to get laid, and they're like, this is why I'm good. This is why I'm trusted. Who says that? Hey, you can trust me, babe.
Yeah, right.
Probably the guy you can't trust.
They're the people that hand out the business cards. And have so many of them, they don't even remember who they talked to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what throws people off here with me. They're like, oh, do you have a business card? I'm like, nah. And they're like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. Because, I mean, there's some times where I'm like, oh, that probably might not help. But at the same time, it's like there are other people that they give you their business card before they even know who I am. They're the ones where I'm like,
no.
Nah. Because now I have to change your mindset for your content as well. Which it's usually should just be like, here's some tips, here's whatever. Like, you want people to give a shit, but you can't make them care if you're trying to tell them why you're great. And that's what so many people do online. I mean, they do it in real life too.
They do.
Yeah.
And you kind of know who you want to be around by just that.
Yeah.
You know, we always get along talking, and we can go on for hours because we have interests.
Yeah.
And we don't need... you're Blake in my phone. You're not a business card.
Yeah.
But I remember. You're going to remember.
Yeah. Well, it's it is funny how many people like they kind of struggle to wrap their head around my business too, because they're like, oh, you do videos. I'm like, yeah, but it's also the layers underneath it. Like, I've got a meeting with someone this Friday, and his thing was, he showed me some of the videos they've had done, and I go, look, it's beautiful. The shots are great. I can tell a real cinematographer has filmed this. But that's the issue. A cinematographer has filmed this. And it's too artistic for anyone who wants to watch it. So it's like, it's meant to be like an introduction to humans. Like people behind the business, which is exactly what I'm doing here. Like, people know who Sue is like right now.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, it opened up with a bunch of drone shots, very picturesque. You don't see the person's face until 18 seconds into the video. I said to him, I'm like, look, I've already clicked away if you hadn't sent me this, I've already clicked away. Because I'm too far away from the action. You know, everyone loves drone shots because they're like, how cool is this? It's like, it's not like...
It's good for a house.
Definitely. Well, yes.
It's good for specifics.
Yeah. Well,
in
real estate, though, as well, you wouldn't want to start with that.
No.
What you want to start with is the realtor.
Inside.
Or a face. So the thing with having if you can see someone's white of their eyes, in content, our croc brains are designed to figure out, all right, this person's looking at me. Are they a friend or a foe? And your croc brain can't override that. So by having someone's face pop up, and within the first 2 seconds to 3 seconds, it forces our croc brain to pay attention that little bit longer. And like most real estate videos here are the house. I can't connect, even if I'm looking for a house.
Yeah.
I still can't connect that well. Plus also, like, I've told a lot of people I'm like with realtors, I'm like, create content that sells you, and you can create that, like, that piece of content can be used after you've sold the house.
There is this realtor I admire and never forget. I forgot her name, but I cannot forget her face and what she did. And one of the things I did with real estate is I would go into houses that, like Pine Ridge area, and I had videos done of me inside the house and pointing things out, but it was really a great video that I still have videos of, and I would present them on Instagram, Facebook, periodically.
Mm-hmm.
I think there might have been about 10 of them that we did in different locations. And it was about me, and then it was about the house, the interior, because it's the inside you want to see, right? So just like you want to see the inside of a person, you sit there and you talk about them.
Yeah.
Right? So I loved it. So I was thinking about that with you, that we would have so much fun doing
100%.
this. So I got to think about which ones I want to do, and then we're going to go do it.
Yeah.
Okay? So
You also, one thing quickly, I would recommend too putting the videos on YouTube because you can access SEO with that.
that's where they had them.
Beautiful. Because the cool thing is, if we love to snoop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, auctions aren't really a thing here, but I know in Sydney, you'd have an auction, there's probably 3 buyers, but there's about 45 people there. Because they're all like, my mum would go to every auction in the area just to snoop. So you create that video, and someone looks up Naples. Up comes this Naples video, a house of Naples. All right, that's interesting. And if you're looking at not just the house, but what's around it and the things, people start researching Naples, but they're watching you talk about it, and they're building this relationship subconsciously with Sue. And
then all of a sudden Sue went to Key West, like that.
Yeah.
And then she's back in the house again or whatever, that kind of a thing.
And they can just snoop around.
Exactly.
And now it's like, oh, that house that you sold 2 years ago, someone's snooping Naples, and they're like, oh, just check out this house. All right, I'm going to hit up Sue and see what she has available now, versus like just film a video, sell a house, move on. It's like, well, no wonder you think it's so expensive to film a video. Because you're thinking just that one sale versus, well, this is a video that will sell the house and then sell me until YouTube's not popular anymore.
So this agent, I think she was in the St. Pete's area.
Beautiful area.
I love that place. That's where I go summertime.
Oh, really?
No crowds are there.
Yeah.
It's great to go there. Sanibel, St. Pete, they're the places you go to in the summer. So she was into scuba diving and her life, and so she would open it up with the things she loved to do. She's looking at the dolphins in the water when she's boating and stuff like that, watching her scuba dive underwater. Not one thing about a house. And then at the end of the video, oh yeah, and I also have. And then she skips over and goes into something. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Think about why, I think people get too, realtors in particular, they get too caught up in the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, look at this mahogany table. Just show me the table. I'm like, all right, cool. It looks pretty.
We can sit and eat at it.
It was made by a designer in Italy. Don't give a shit. Versus, again, why do people live next to the beach? For the beach, not the house.
Exactly.
All right, so if you're not even selling, sharing the experience you can get by living at this house. If I was to sell our house, dolphins every couple of days in the little creek area behind us, occasional manatees. Hold on, what? I can be sitting having breakfast looking at dolphins? Okay, that's awesome. You've got water both sides. It's so close to, you can hop on your boat in the back and go right out to this. And then I'd film Dog Beach, where you can go to. And it's so
awesome.
close. All those things. And then I'm like, oh, by the way, it's also, 3 bedrooms. It's got 2 bathrooms.
Right.
All those extra things, that are really convenient. But it's like, why would I want to stay at that house versus the house down there?
Right.
Or this area as well. And then you got the sunsets, all that stuff that has
everything around it that people want.
Yeah.
Why do people come to Florida?
Exactly.
They come because of the sun, the beach, the fun, all the outdoor activities. They're not coming because they just want a house that's going to give them what they want to live in.
Do you know one thing that would be interesting, and I don't know how many realtors want to do this? Also present the semi-cons, like the downfalls. So like pros and cons.
Okay.
So it's like a reverse engineer, or it's like a reverse psychology thing where it's like, all right, maybe don't do this. And people are like, what do you mean? Like maybe don't, you might not like this product for this reason. It actually, that builds so much more trust in you. Like, so for example, like where I live, one con is the road on Bonita Beach Road can become a little bit of an artery sometimes. And it'll add probably 10 minutes to your travel time sometimes, just so you know. But if you really want to live on the beach, you have no other option. Like you can't live on the beach and not have that.
Right.
But by that full transparency, someone watching it goes, that's really refreshing that you're not just trying to sell the goods. You're just like, hey, something to also consider. And if
that
you don't
even
like
if you're on that road, this has more to offer than just the road.
Yeah. So, but like in terms of, again, like, because my father-in-law, I think he still would have bought the house anyway. To paint a picture. Last trip when, like 2 weeks ago or something, like Bonita Beach Road has been a nightmare.
No, really?
Oh, always.
Going into Fort Myers and coming out?
Yeah. Well, not even that, just trying to go to 41.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, like, if it's really good weather and it's a weekend, it's trash. Like, something that should be a 10-minute drive turns into maybe, it's probably not that bad. It's probably like turns into 20.
Okay.
But it feels so much longer.
Yeah.
To the point where Steve was like, I worked my whole life and the goal was to live near the beach. And it's so inconvenient. And then so he's like, I want to sell the house. He's not going to. But even if you told him, hey, it's going to be a little inconvenient, like an extra 10 minutes, people go, like, he'd register. He'd be like, oh, yeah, that's all right because I live near the beach. But you've been honest in a way that most realtors are not, with something that someone's going to jump over anyway because they're more emotionally attached to the beach living, that I think that'd build more of a trust in you as a realtor, because they're like, wait, why? Like I've told people why they shouldn't use my services, and they're like, wait, what? I'm like, if you just want to do lives, I'll show you how to do it, and just don't worry about it after that. They're like, huh? I'm like, 'cause one, I don't want to do that, but two, you can do it yourself. I'm not going to like price gouge just because I'm like, oh, help hold the camera. I don't know. That's something to consider with your content
That's
too.
a thought. It's something. Maybe it would be certain ones.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not all. I think it depends on the situation.
Definitely. Well, because I think about the huge houses right on Bonita Beach.
Yeah,
they're
down.
so big that extra 10 minutes, they're not going to give a shit because they're like, I ain't leaving this house.
And the area is building up so much.
Oh
it's unbelievable.
Wild. It's
I did a lot of open houses in Barefoot.
It'd be cool to film some of that, because Stace and I wanted to start like this little TikTok trend thing, because we looked at a house, like the in-laws looked at a house in Fort Myers Beach. It was like 3 stories and 80
on the water.
Yeah, right on the water.
Okay.
60 to 80 foot long indoor gymnasium, 10-seater cinema. Like, it was massive. It was so big where we're like, you know what? I think this type of lifestyle is too inconvenient, because it'd be like, hey, I'm just going to your kitchen. No worries. I'll be back in 10 because it's so far away. But it was like, these sort of like MTV crib style, like, holy crap, people live like this. It would be such an interesting piece of content. You could, I mean, the editing is crazy, because it's like, to splice a shorter video is actually way harder than people think.
I'm sure.
But again, people just like to snoop.
They do. They do. They like to see what's out there. They like to get their, keep their feet wet.
Yeah. And a video versus photos, like, there's so much detachment. I used that example with someone I was chatting to on this podcast, I think, about the reason why Ukrainian war hits us so much more than like our invasion of Syria. We didn't see it happen in video. We just saw like, here's the building before and here's it after. You're like, oh, that's terrible. There's no humans in it. It's just a beautiful building, now rubble. No context. Versus you see like a F-18 fly and then fire a missile and you hear people scream. It's like, you feel it so much more. Same as snooping around a house. Like,
yeah.
And seeing you, the realtor, being like, here's, what I really love about here is I can actually sit here and view that and do this. This is kind of ideal. What I might do different is I'd probably move this here. And people go, huh, that's interesting. I never thought about that. Versus only like...
just being creative.
Yeah. Like
just bring... I always thought, oh, wouldn't it be really cool to do this as a mystery thing going through it?
Plus, you got a designer background.
Yeah.
So little things, you could add little specks of that into it if you owned it.
Yeah.
What would you do? And then people are like, you know what? Sue's got a really cool creative mind, but it's those little things of imagination that you're planting in their house, because everyone buys a house and they never keep it how they bought it. They always add little flares to it. But if you're adding that flair and that imagination, that excitement of what's possible, you're putting you into the video, but you're also giving that excitement that people have when they are in the house going, oh, I do this.
It's just that little subliminal thing.
Yeah.
That sticks with them because they've never seen it before.
Yeah. Versus here's why it's great.
Yeah. Right to it.
Yeah.
Just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Like when you think about most of the videos that you see, it is just like
it's bland.
Well, even the exciting ones are still the same sort of structure. Here is what it is. Even like the $50 million houses that they show, and you watch them because it's like, holy crap. When I think about it, they are only, it has a wine cellar, it has this, it's so...
It doesn't flow.
Yeah. Versus like, all right, this is really cool, this was designed by yada, yada, yada. What I think I'd do is I'd change this slightly by putting that here. Now you're like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I haven't thought about that. I think there's a cool thing. There's something idea behind that.
We have something going.
And that's something unique about you. Designer background. Not many realtors have that.
No.
Which gives it like that little flair of difference as well. Like you always got to look for what makes you unique in.
Absolutely. And there are not. I think that's the cool thing about the relationship is it helps you to be that creativity, that creative. And most realtors aren't. They don't have that.
Yeah.
They go, boom, this is the job. Boom.
Yeah. They're also stuck in what I've noticed is like, so my sister's ex-boyfriend is a realtor.
Okay.
And I remember this would have been 4 years ago. And I was trying to tell him, I'm like, dude, stop with the pamphlets. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
I'm like, do content, do Facebook, do videos. And he's like, well, no, it's just that it's been proven that pamphlets work. And I'm like, yeah. Also, having ads in the phone book used to work. But you don't do that anymore. And it is interesting still seeing, I'm like, the pamphlets are not cheap. They're not cheap.
No.
I remember
they're good for if you sell something and you put it in, but even doing
that's
it
how
in.
you justify it.
Correct.
And you don't even know if it came from the pamphlet. I remember.
No, you don't. You don't, because a lot of, they'll take stuff that's already sold or put it on there.
Yeah. And because I remember at an event in 2019 when I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was for the pest control. And this company they were really, really trying to sell the pamphlet stuff. Oh, you do this, and it's for 1,000 of this, it's cost this much, yada, yada, yada. And I put my hand up. I'm like, just got a question. I really am trying to understand what the benefits are. Because you're saying it costs whatever it was, a couple of $100 for 3,000 pamphlets, and you got usually a success rate of 1.5%. They're like, yeah. Okay, I do ads online for our business, and I put in $100 and we get about 30,000 people seeing it. Just wondering, what do you do with that? And like everyone in the room turns, they're like, I'm like, it ain't rocket science. Like the content obviously costs the money. That's the real investment. The ads is whatever you want to put in behind it. But I was like, this, like, it felt scamish. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't work as good as the other thing,
Right.
but you're still selling it.
Right. And you have that video for life.
Yeah.
You can switch off with others.
Yeah.
And you can edit it too and just add
Mm-hmm.
different things to it and then put it back on.
Yeah. And then, like, yeah, just the price because I didn't really know what pamphlets cost. And when
It's expensive.
It's expensive. And it's, again, it's who picks it up and goes, oh, and like reads it.
It goes in that basket on the side there.
It does. Because even with you can also make a lot more, like a very different experience and personality through video. Like
right.
there's one I'm doing.
Well, you're saying things for real.
Yeah, but also you can be goofy. You can't be goofy in a pamphlet.
No.
Like we've got this
Boring.
one, Alicia's boyfriend Paul. I just finished filming a video for him, and we just filmed it straight of him saying a few things.
What does he do?
He's a plumber.
Oh.
And so it starts off, it's like, you never know when the shit will hit the fan, but when it does, call this man. Like, that's the start when you go, huh? And so,
do you have it all over the place or no?
So I was just like, dude, can you, like, are you okay with us trying every pun possible and just leaning into that? Because I'm like, for starters, if someone gets offended by that, they're probably not going to be your customer anyway. But like, so we shot 3 videos and I made a spoof video for his 4th. But yeah, it's like, there's another, like, you'll never know when you're going to get clogged up. So we're available 24/7, 7 days a week.
Oh gosh, that's cool.
And then after that, he goes, because when you're clogged up, all you want is relief. So the whole ad is just these funny things. And at the end, it's he says, and remember, SunWest is the best. So I rhyme it deliberately so they remember. SunWest is the best because we know our shit. You know?
That's so cool.
But it's something we'll get people going, oh, that's funny, and I'll remember that. And then I did an outtake one where he said real bad ones that I came up with. And I pretend like I edited in post. You know how like they have like you hear the director going, action! And then he'll say something like, cut! And so it's going between that of like these back-to-back outtakes of him saying shit that he shouldn't, and the director getting pissed off in the background. And like one of them is like, you can brag to your friends about how well we cleaned your wife's pipes out. Like, and I'm like, no! You just hear in the background like every pun you can think about. But
that's cool.
You know, like that's the fun stuff you can do with
Yeah.
it. And if you're prepared to take a risk, I don't know. I just feel like if people are going to get offended, all right. But as long as you put yourself into it, you're going to attract the people that like you.
Exactly.
And you're going to dissuade the people that won't. And the great thing too about him is he's very introverted. So him saying the stuff is even more ludicrous because he's
so introverted.
He's very still when he's talking, and like he has his little smirk because and it just works so well with his personality about how outrageous the shit is that he's saying. So I can't wait to show Paul and Alicia the edit.
That's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it's but it's fun. Especially like the way my brain thinks, I'm like, how ridiculous can we make this? Because people will remember it.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. And he's advertising it on the Patriot podcast.
Okay.
So, and I said to him, like, trust me, this ad will probably stick out. Because I mean, I haven't heard any of the ads, but I'm just like, it's very outrageous, you know? But yeah. So it's weird how you, like, I cough so much more when I'm on the podcast.
I don't know. It's crazy.
Maybe we're not used to talking this much.
Yeah, how long have we been talking?
An hour and 50.
Whoa.
Actually, that's probably a sign we probably should wrap it up.
Wow.
Yeah. It's fun though, right?
It's awesome. It's really cool.
It's wild because I've got Eddie in half an hour.
Oh, he's coming? Awesome.
Yeah. I did Bill yesterday and I was so confused. Like, oh, health insurance here. I'm asking him the most confusing questions. I'm like, dude, I don't get it. I'm like, this is this and how about that? And I'm like, this thing is just confusing. Yeah. But thank goodness that he's there because he can explain it. And I've got Eddie to explain Medicare, or I think it's Medicare.
Yeah, he does Medicare.
That's it.
He put mine together.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. So, for people trying to find the awesome Sue Cohen, where do they look? We'll have these details in the description anyway, so they can reach out. What's your preferred method of contact?
239-273-8099.
There we go. And do you have like an email you prefer, or more like mobile is your cell phone they call it here?
They can do either. So that would be my cell. And my email is sue@paradiseofnaples.com.
Paradise of Naples. That's actually pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. Purposely.
Do you have a slogan? Because I definitely just rip off just life's a beach.
Living your life is living healthy.
I couldn't agree more with that. That's very true. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
There you go, 2 hours.
Thank you.
Well, just short of 2 hours. All right, guys, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that bell. And thanks to Sue again.
Thank you.
All right. See you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
There we go.
Oh, ears. Oh, hair.
Yeah.